My name is Kycell, and I start this 26th chapter of my historical tome, The Forgotten Minotaur King, confronted by one of my biographical subject's greatest enemies. Prince Jadeniston Rajelasad, a lithe, white tiger-furred Rakshasa, stood before me and my co-worker Chinook. Now, however, he possessed a far more youthful form than the one I had read about in the journal belonging to Chinook. I did my best to stifle the urge to blurt out a torrent of questions regarding Krunturk's fate during the subsequent years following his murder of the prince. But beyond that likely being a rather touchy subject, it would also undoubtedly expose my undercover position as Baisel Kakshi, humble librarian. The burly Rakshasa servant that accompanied the youth Jadeniston as he exited the lavish coach gestured for Chinook and I to step away from the prince. After descending the stairs, this new young form of Jadeniston wordlessly outstretched his hand to Chinook, not bothering to make eye contact.
Here you are, JR. I kept it safe for you upon your return. I even picked out a lovely place in the castle library to display it. Not for public consumption, of course, but simply for observational purposes. It would be the jewel of your kinswoman, Princess Walla's castle.
A surprisingly appreciative smile crossed the young prince's face as he eyed the journal, likely for any damage it might have come to under Chinook's watch, and unbeknownst to them, my own. Seeing nothing ill about the journal's condition, he pocketed it in his pristine felt suit vest and waved for the unseen driver of the coach to depart, as he and who I now assume is possibly the Rakshasa referred to as the humble servant, began to make their way to the castle entrance. Sparing a glance at a bowing Chinook as he passed, Jadeniston finally spoke.
I'll return the journal to your care, Draconid, upon my completion of annotating my recent travels to Arkham since my last entry. For now, back to work.
As they left, Chinook released an enormous sigh of relief.
Oh, thank goodness that ogre didn't bring any harm to the journal. Now come along, Baisel. We're late for Lord Carnager. Oh, and when we enter the dungeon, I'd love to get a look at that prisoner.
After passing the portcullis gates and practically having to pull an irate Chinook off of the confused and innocent ogre doorman due to my own ill-thought-out lie, we found ourselves passing the cells along the walls of the keep, until finally we saw one cell in particular, which had 2 half-orc guards posted on either end of the entrance. Chinook told me to be as surreptitious as possible when passing, as to not draw the guard's ire, but do try to get a look at the captive. However, as we approached the beaten and bloody form of a rotund, white-furred mouseling, bolted for the cage entrance and outstretched a hand to both of us.
Messieurs, please let me out. These guards, they do not listen. I can call off my men. I just need to talk to someone in authority. Please, it is quite important, oui?
Chinook turned to me with a sardonic grin, stifling a laugh as we continued to walk, pretending not to have heard the unfortunate diplomat. Axor Chungus didn't deserve this. He was simply trying to aid his people, the people of my rank even. The Orcan guards, possibly the female one that had pointed me to the location of the library tower a few days past, hoisted her polearm she was previously leaning against, and shoved it into the gut of Uxor, causing him to squeak out in pain and roll away. Under different circumstances, this scene would have been quite hilarious. Suddenly, it occurred to me. He was being detained here alone. His wife, Myrink's sister Soiree, wasn't being held along with him. I doubted the Rakshasa nor Prince Dinge would have shown any mercy to her. The only possible explanation is Myrink must have had a hand in this. It almost brought a smile to my face, the idea that she actually did care for her sibling, despite her protests to the contrary. As we continued to walk to the Tower Q exit, Chinook continued to talk my ear off, speculating as to the nature of this spy's intentions. Lord Carnager continued to put both Chinook and I on restoration duties. During our standard roundup of tomes, it came to my attention that we were nearly complete. The sparse nature of the castle's bookroom allowed us to have completely read through almost all of the tomes in a matter of days. Near the end of our workday, this fact was finally addressed by Lord Natanus Carnager himself, as he floated from his work along the library ceilings to gather Chinook and myself.
Oh, the first steps are nearly complete, young lads. Our next step is to procure more tomes. I must say the derelict nature of this repository is quite dreadful. But fear not, my young book eaters. I have obtained a royal decree from the Regent Mother herself.
He held a pristine roll of paper with copious amounts of text scribed upon it and signed at the bottom with the single name R.M. Selva and an ornate Alexandrian wax seal I would only assume was the Rijal Assad house seal.
Tomorrow, one of you is going to go into town, visit the local shops, registries, universities, or museums. If this minuscule shanty town possesses anything of note, and request all precious documents and tomes be handed over to our repository. The details are in the contract.
He once again rolled up the decree and snugly bound it with a ribbon he seemingly produced from thin air. He then outstretched it to me, much to my shock and Chinook's chagrin.
As for what the other will be doing from this day forward, young Chinook, you possess some penchant for magic, yes? You will learn to transcribe written material in the most efficient way, by spell. Your lessons begin while Master Kycell is procuring works in the company of a god.
This new position left me quite ambivalent. The collecting of books and documents would be a stupendous opportunity for me to potentially learn more of the Minotaur King Krunturg from his very citizenry. But doing so would take me from the castle, meaning Myrink and Ahani would be left here alone. And I'm the reason that both of them infiltrated this castle in the first place. Also, there was still the matter of a potential attack on the castle or town, and still no word on Myrink's sister, Kind's little son, Court, nor the elven babysitter, who was also taken. However, none of those reasons against going were a possible excuse I could give Carnager, Chinook, or Regent Mother Selva, whose position I still didn't fully understand. And what of the visiting Prince de Deniston? As slim as the chance of any civility between myself and him was, he would be as useful a source of information as Mayor Kind had been, especially since I had lost his journal. During my inner contemplation, I looked up to see a much more enthusiastic Chinook beating his red wings and asking Lord Carnager specifics on the magic he would learn. A fleeting idea crossed my mind, a potential way to alleviate at least one of my myriad of issues going forward. I begged Lord Carnager's pardon, remembering to address him properly, and asked if it would be possible to choose the guard that would accompany me. This job outside the castle was potentially dangerous, and I would prefer an escort whose ability I trusted and company I could feel comfortable with.
I don't see why not. I say I think it makes little difference. They're only there for added muscle, but do believe I have full authority of the castle behind me and this operation, should things turn truly poor.
I told him of the new royal guard, an Usagi Hito with an eye patch, who goes by Odegra. At the description, Chinook again eyed me with a suggestive eyebrow raise. If he was under the impression I was in a relationship with Myrink's disguised alter ego, it simply made our frequent rendezvous more innocent to the outside observer.
I'll speak to Selva. You'll meet this guard outside the castle gates tomorrow morning for another briefing on specific locations. I myself will scout out tonight with my thralls. Now, let's finish up these last few tomes and call it a night, gentlemen.
That night, Ahani and I reviewed my notations for the day alone in the apartment. Estelise and Saika likely having a more busy night than anticipated. Myrink arrived later that night with terrible news. The elven girl, whose name I was now learning was Perna Reconquista, was indeed being held in the castle, but not entirely against her own will. Myrink informed us that Fugazi had given her an option. Leave Mayor Kind's son with the demoniac mutant Fugazi to be sent to his true masters, or stay with the boy and await an organization out of Montshen Myrink refused to mention, but said she knew personally and were likely just as nefarious. Why either group wanted the boy wasn't information Myrink was privy to, and that she was lucky enough to learn of the pock-faced elven girl's existence at all was a miracle. However, having chosen the latter option, she had given herself and court more time, given the recent dilemma with that very country regarding Aksur. Myrink then turned specifically to me with a bemused expression.
And what exactly is this about me escorting you around town tomorrow to bully and extort stores for magazines and brochures or something?
Blushing, I told her of my new role for the library, and upon hearing this, Ahani groaned in jealousy and rolled onto her back in utter defeat, informing us that as Myrink and I were doing what we did best during our incursion, she was being left to suffer not only the burning steel and ironwork, but the numerous full dwarves propositioning her for marriage or else betrothal to their kin. as all three of us shared in a humorous moment of levity after news of Court and Perna's safety deadline. The door to the dorm opened, revealing a grinning Dr. Psycha and a mildly amused, for once, Estelise. Psycha Silibin slithered over to me and grabbed my wrists in her smooth pink-scaled hands and affixed me with her large reptilian eyes.
I have the most wonderful news, Kycell. Merkind, he has awoken.
Hi, my name is Matthew Lewis, and I do the voice of Kycell Bakshi, along with all the additional voices in The Forgotten Minotaur King. I hope you enjoy the podcast and continue to listen into the future. If you want to support my content, please donate to my Patreon, Matthew Lewis Podcasts. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Matthew Lewis Podcasts, all one word. Follow me on Twitter at Matthew Lewis P. Or leave a positive maximum star review on your podcast app of choice. If you found this podcast, I assume you're familiar enough with the genre to know how important reviews are to the survival of a channel. And I hope you recommend this to your friends. Or if you didn't like it, you could recommend it to your enemies, and I'll teach them a lesson. Keep it sleazy, folks, and thank you.